What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about anticipating what needs to be done and just being 10 steps ahead and just why it's just important and how to actually do this and why most people don't. So stay tuned, listen, and enjoy. So anticipating what needs to be done, why it's important, how to do it, what does that mean? I think it's something where a lot of people, I think they understand it, but they don't necessarily input it or implement it into their daily lives and their work environments or even personal lives, but mainly in the work and career setting. Now, this is something where it's, people are like, they're thinking like maybe sometimes if they are anticipating what needs to be done, it's thinking one or two steps ahead. But you want to kind of widen your net when you're thinking about everything from a logistics, operations, what needs to be done standpoint, when you're on your day-to-day stuff. And this is not just on what your own individual tasks are, but this is also, understanding the thought process of the individuals involved in kind of in whatever interactions you're going through on a day-to-day basis. If it's working with either one or two other people or working with a team of 50, trying to understand the thought process of those involved and kind of what is going to be asked or expected, and being able to anticipate that and then basically prep accordingly. And this is really important because it can really it can streamline your work, okay, making it easier on you and others. And also, this is something that I don't see very common in the work setting, at least executed efficiently. I think people do it to an extent, but if you get really, really good at it, it really, really stands out to those around you and those that you work with. And people will don't really recognize how much people appreciate it when you're thinking ahead. And basically, if you can almost like read the person's mind, if you know what they're going to ask you for and you've got those systems or processes or paperwork or things done and ready, or how they like certain things, but making sure that you have attention to detail and executing on those things the way that they they want it. And that is something that goes a long way. And the more you practice it, obviously, the better that you get at it. And it only works, obviously, the best thing I can relate it to is for those of you that have like served at a restaurant. I think it's been the easiest thing I can relate it to, because I've been a server at a couple of restaurants in my time. And it came very easy for me because I was always able to just to think ahead and be efficient and anticipate what issues or problems or what I was going to need ahead of time and kind of prep accordingly. And so that was something that it really just a lot of people wondered why I picked up on some of those things so fast. And it's just because I just spend a little bit of time to understand the system, and then thinking ahead, anticipating what issues I'm going to run into and how to effectively have a solution kind of prepped, planned, and ready for execution when that happens. And for athletic training, this was huge, especially when I was working in the NFL. It was something where that was, a key to just my success in the NFL at Stanford University, where I worked football. Those were things I implemented from when I was a server in undergrad, all through my graduate assistantship, my internships, and everything. And it was just taking the time to understand thought processes of those involved. So my coworkers, my bosses, my supervisors, those people, how they wanted certain things done, what they would what they liked, what they didn't like, what type of so for us on the sports medicine side of things, is understanding, well, certain people like, certain braces or certain sleeves. And, and they, some different people like different brands, different models on braces, different variety of tape jobs, taping techniques. And so having those things out and ready, kind of geared to that specific person shows that, that you're taking initiative and thinking ahead and essentially streamlining the process, because basically what it comes down to in your work setting is trying to make it easier on everybody else. And the way that you do that is by eliminating as many steps as possible. And the steps, usually it's the smallest steps that make the biggest difference. I mean, this is everything. So for example, if we were, I know we were going to get a guy taped for practice, and there's certain taping techniques. I would get out, every single, type of tape job that is involved in that process, and have everything laid out, for that person, so that when it came, time to get ready for the game and get, taped up, then they had everything ready, and it was just streamlined and easy. Because game day, as some of you may know, some of you don't know, with athletic training, game days, it's pretty busy, pretty hectic, in the athletic training room, pregame. There's a lot going on, a lot goes into getting the guys ready. So as efficient as you can be in anticipating those things, it can really, really make your life just a lot easier, on those kind of crazy days where it's just super insane, kind of back to back things going on, and you really don't have time to kind of think or breathe or anything. But it's something that, again, it relates to athletic training, but this is something that applies to other professions, other careers. It's just a life skill, and it's something that I've learned, and I've just practiced and practiced and practiced, from like the big things, because those are generally pretty easy, down to the small, like most minute details that I can, and trying to think of all the steps along the way, and basically kind of have everything ready. So if that's something, that I would, I would always preach to my students and my interns and coworkers and things. And that was something that that's helped me tremendously in my career. And so that's why I try to just teach it, share it. It sounds like common knowledge and common sense, but for whatever reason, I'm not really sure why, but when you get into the work setting, people tend to get tunnel vision and just don't think ahead. They kind of think in the moment, or in maybe one or two steps and ahead, and that's basically it. But you really want to go through and think as far ahead as you can. And this is, well, daily, weekly, like monthly. I remember one time, when I was working in the NFL, we had our international games in London. Those were times where one season we didn't have the London game for probably until like the middle of the season, but I started getting ready for that before the season started. That was something I was always like already thinking about, and trying to troubleshoot stuff in my head. When we land there, as far as like what we're gonna do, setting up the facility and the stadium, what problems are we gonna run into, what are we gonna need, is there anything we need to order? If I need to order something, I need to probably order it now, because what else if I order it and it's on back order and then they can't get it in time? And so if I wait until a few weeks before we leave for, this international trip, I'm like, oh, I'll just order this. And all of a sudden it's on back order, and it's just like the perfect storm hits, and you're like, you're left just scrambling, trying to figure stuff out, when you could have saved yourself so much trouble had you just thought ahead and just done a couple of things, to kind of prepare for that. And so that's one really good example that I've got, because I remember I was always getting questions like, London's not until the middle of the season. Why are we worrying about this now? And it's, and I was taking care of other things, and, as far as, getting ready for the game that week and practice and everything's on like the normal day-to-day stuff. But thinking, okay, I've got London coming up later in the season, that's a big trip. Sometimes I've done multiple trips to London, and sometimes they're a week long, depending on the coach. Sometimes they're like a 3-day trip, and so it's a little bit quicker. But the logistics change with that. But on the week long trips, they basically require a lot more logistically, and so I just, that's just kind of one example that I can provide that relates really well, because I remember getting questioned about that a lot. And it's just, thinking ahead, anticipating what problems you're going to run into, and just executing on that. I think too many people, get tunnel vision, like I said. And so I guess, challenge you guys to just try and implement this in your work setting. And, this also kind of goes hand in hand with having attention to detail. Now, you can't anticipate what needs to be done if you don't know, if you're not paying attention as to, what is actually happening through the process of whatever it is that you're doing. Whether that's paperwork, a project, traveling for a road game, if you're in the athletics industry, stuff like that. And so you really got to actually pay attention. You actually have to, study the people around you and study the system and to kind of be on the ground level and be in the trenches. And because why is that important? Because if you're not in the trenches, you're not on the ground level, you don't know what's happening in those detailed steps leading up to, leading up to whatever you're doing. And so that's also very important. And so you can only anticipate so much if you're not deeply, deeply involved with what you're doing. If you're just kind of clocking in, clocking out, kind of getting the bare minimum done, and you're just collecting a paycheck, you're going to have a hard time basically working at it. I mean, you can, and you'll make some progress, but you really got to immerse yourselves in the culture, in the trenches. Like I said, those around you, know what's going on behind the scenes, know the people involved and how it affects every single person from even the different departments that you're involved in. Like I said, kind of keeping it general, but giving you some examples as it related to, athletic training for me specifically. But it's a skill that's, anyway, like I said, it's helped me a lot. And if you guys can just grasp a hold of this, anticipating, what needs to be done and executing it ahead of time without anyone ever, needing to tell you to do something, it can help you tremendously in your career. Because it builds a great mindset, good habits, and then it really helps you to understand what's happening in your career or work or field, and to be efficient. And if you're being efficient with your time, then you're able to be really productive, and the productivity and efficiency will ultimately lead into successful career path and whatever it is that you're doing. And on top of all that also is that it shows the people that you're working with, they've got now like an appreciation for you and what you've done, because now you've made their lives easier. So on top of that, now you're building a positive reputation with those around you. And so that also in turn can have a positive impact on your, life and career paths. And so it's not just a matter of getting, work done and then, clocking in, clocking out, but it's about the overall, the big picture and thinking long term, by making this natural, by making it, creating a natural mindset and creating this kind of habitual, habit. By creating this habit, you're going to basically be over the years, it's going to just carry momentum in itself, and it can help you drastically in the future. So again, these podcasts, they're not scripted. I don't do well with scripts. I try to keep it kind of all natural. I sort of just have a general topic that I just kind of think about, that I want to talk about. And I've started kind of doing some bullet points and outlining some stuff, but anyway, for the most part, it's just basically just kind of improv and kind of off the cuff subject until like later on. I just want to try and get consistent with the podcast. So if you're listening this far, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate all the positive feedback I'm getting from people that have been listening. And so if you guys do find the podcast helpful, just shoot me a message, tweet me, DM, text me, email me, whatever. Let me know what you think, and share it if you can. Please just share the podcast with anyone that you think that might be interested. I would appreciate the support. This is just for fun, and I'm just trying to help people and just share my experiences and kind of what I've learned, and just staying kind of in my lane and talking about what I know and what I've seen over the years. So let me know what you guys think, and hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll look forward to the next podcast. All right, we'll talk to you later. Okay, peace.